Дорогие друзья, добрый вечер. Здравствуйте. У нас сегодня планируется прямой эфир с Кристиной Стейн Трейси, терапевтом, психотерапевтом, дочерью моего наставника, партнера по академии Брайана Трейси. И мы поговорим о карьере, о том, как преуспеть вообще в качестве профессионала и многом другом. Кристина специалист по сексуальным взаимоотношениям между людьми, и если у вас есть какие-то вопросы в рамках профессии, в рамках вот этих моментов, то с удовольствием пишите, задавайте, и самое интересное, конечно, я адресую Кристине. Вот, пока мы подождем, и вы присоединяетесь, и Кристина, я думаю, решит какие-то технические вопросы. Можем пока пообщаться, вы расскажите, как у вас день прошел. И, соответственно, вот я вижу, Кристина уже присоединяется. Кристина, I can see you joined us. Please press the button join our stream, and we can start. It's very nice to see you here. Yep. Да, дорогие друзья, сейчас начнем. Я буду говорить на английском. Окей.
Подождем чуть-чуть. Yeah, I can see Christina is joining us. And we can...
Hi there.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
It's very nice to see you. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
How was your vacation? How was your holiday?
It was amazing. We were in Iceland, and so we actually got to see a live volcano erupting.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was amazing. Definitely.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, Christina. You just mentioned you're going to vacation, and I had short conversation with our mutual friends, Gennady Polonsky, and he
Yes.
mentioned that. And he
Okay.
mentioned that you're going to Iceland. That's amazing. So I'm going to introduce you a little bit to my followers and friends here.
Great.
And then we're going to have a short discussion as well and conversation. Christina Tracy Stein is a speaker, author, and therapist. She has a private practice in Santa Monica, helping individuals and couples discover their strengths and accomplish their goals, leading to a more inspiring life. Christina, that's amazing. Could you please a little bit share with us how did you start? How did you choose this career and this path in life?
Maybe some of you know my father is Brian Tracy, and he
Yes.
is yeah. And so growing up with him as a father, it was hard to not appreciate and develop a passion for helping people and, inspiring people to live up to their, potential. So he and I are similar, and yet I grew up with a different appreciation of connection and emotions and, feelings between people. And so I'm kind of a combination of the way he approaches things with a very practical, actionable ways to integrate ideas, but I'm much more about, helping people learn how to be authentic and how to connect with others in partnership.
Christina, and you mentioned Brian, and Brian is #1 for me, role model and mentor. And I'm part of Brian Tracy Academy here in Russia, an expert as
Okay.
well. So
Excellent.
it's wonderful, and I know David very much, very good.
Oh,
David.
good. Okay. Yes.
And a little bit Barbara, and Brian is #1 for me. He's amazing. Yes.
Yes, definitely. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Christina, every individual defines success differently. What is success for you, and when did you consider yourself a success?
Well, that's a great question. Well, to me, success is having deep connections with the people I love, so having a a solid partnership with my husband, and also having community and family, and feeling like I'm able to teach and inspire people, and I'm also able to learn from others.
Habits make a lot difference. So what are your success habits? What is your daily routine, Christina? What time do you wake up? What's your daily routine and rituals?
Oh, I love rituals. My daily routine, let's see, I wake up at about 6:45 in the morning. I sit and I have coffee, and I usually read for a little while because I'm a learning junkie. I like to learn constantly. So I'm always learning new skills and new perspectives and things that I can pass on to people. And then I sit with my planner. I have a very special planner that I've been working with for many years in terms of setting out my daily goals, my weekly goals. I'm a big goal person, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I plan my day, and I, determine what needs to get done. And then I have clients. So I have a private practice that I'm doing right now virtually. So I see my clients via Zoom throughout the day. And then I'm done by 6, and my family has dinner together, and we have sort of a nice evening routine where we wind down, and I go to sleep about 10:30.
And what is today's single most important goal for you, Christina? What inspire you? What make you wake up early enough and do something? Because you did a lot. You're very successful as a professional therapist.
Yes.
What inspire you? What's your number one goal or dream?
Wow. Well, what I'm really passionate about is inspiring people to live authentic lives, to understand what they want and what makes them feel successful, and to help facilitate that process. And I find that being in a connected, loving, passionate relationship is something that I think is really important for everyone. And so I'm very passionate to teach as many people as possible how to be authentic and be authentic in relationships. So I'm currently working on a virtual training so that anybody anywhere can go through my course, and they can watch videos, and I've got workbooks on all different aspects of, personal development and interpersonal relationships, so that couples can feel more connected and more passionate and just happy.
Christina, and you are co-author and author of some books on relationships as well. And Brian, one of the best experts on successful relationships and how to raise happy and successful kids as well. What would you recommend to people who would love to find a spouse, to create successful relationships, loving relationships? Maybe you have some rules or tips to share.
Yes. Well, if you're in a relationship, I think the most important thing is time. So one of the first things I teach people in relationships is to dedicate time to your partner. And so I call it a date, have a date night or a date afternoon, or a set time that you give to your partner every week where you are together and you're focusing on each other. And this past year has been hard because we've been at home with COVID and being quarantined. And so I tell people who are at home to set a time at home and go to a different room and decide that is where you will have your date. So you can still cultivate the connection in your partnership. And for people who are looking for relationships, people who are ready to have that kind of experience, I think it's once you really are ready, when you decide to be open and to be authentic, the more authentic you are, the easier it is to connect with other people.
And you help and inspire a lot of people all over the world. So maybe you can remember what was your biggest customer success, the one you are most proud of and remember the most?
Biggest customer success that I'm most proud of. I I love giving presentations. I love speaking. So whenever I get to speak to a large group of people, and at the end of giving a presentation, to feel the energy of the room, that to me is so incredible, because if I can make a difference for one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, it's just so valuable to me to be able to contribute and to see people grow in their own space.
Wow. And your dad, Brian, always telling that nobody is smarter than you, nobody is better than you, they just started early enough. And what would you say to people who are looking for their goals, their passion, their path to life, who are a little bit stuck? Maybe they don't know exactly what they want and how to create a masterpiece from life. I think everyone have a huge potential inside, but
Yes.
some of them are a little bit lost.
Well, I think there's this idea of having a superpower, right? Everybody is good at something. Anything. You could be really good at organizing or building or painting or speaking, but everyone knows that there is something that they are good at, that when they're doing it, they feel good and they feel confident about their ability to do whatever the skill is. I think that if you can come from that place of tapping into what your power is, what your gift is, it's about figuring out what is your gift and then finding a way to give your gift to others. To me, that's the place to start, because everyone has a gift and they're not the same. And so if we can figure out what our gifts are and share, then we can rise, we can help lift everyone else. And
we become what we think about most of the time, Christina, right?
Yes.
And we are what we read, what we think, what we talk, average of people around. Who inspire you besides Brian, and like dad and mom and your family? Maybe you have some role models, some books you mentioned. You mentioned that you love to read. Maybe your top 5 books, your top 5 people in your life who changed your mindset, your personality, or something like that.
Ooh, yes. So Daniel Goleman, who wrote Emotional Intelligence.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely, he's been an inspiration. Dan Siegel. Have you heard of Dan Siegel? He's
Probably not.
Okay, so Dan Siegel is he talks about like the psychology behind our biology. So in terms of what you think about, you become, but also how we relate to each other in an unspoken way. So he's fascinating. Brené Brown is another person. Have you heard of Brené Brown?
Probably not, Christina. I'm in personal development for 50 years, but maybe I did in Russian, but we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Brené Brown, she talks about how, and I really believe this is important for people, the power and vulnerability that we, trust in business or in a personal relationship is an incredibly important thing, because when you trust somebody, they can influence you. So building trust between businesses, between people. And one of the best ways to build trust is to be authentic and vulnerable. And so a lot of people have a hard time being vulnerable because they're afraid of it, because it feels scary. But in being vulnerable, you actually can accomplish so much more because you're being authentic. And so Brené Brown is someone who talks about that. Man, there are so many great books and people. Obviously, I've read my father's stuff. I think a lot of his stuff is great. And I've listened to him talk, and I've seen the same presentation many times. And he has such a wonderful way of presenting information in a practical, applicable way. And so I really enjoy that. I love reading books about TED Talks. And I love reading books about writing and presenting and teaching and how people learn. And so, in terms of like how we can integrate material and expand in our space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Of course.
And if you needed to start it all over again tomorrow, and you had just one thing to change, what would it be, Christina?
Ooh, one thing to change. Mm, I I I feel really good about the way I've done things. I've been incredibly goal oriented since I was younger, and I had a plan because I wanted to build a career and have a family, and I have been very thoughtful every step of the way. And so I'm now at a place where I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old, but I'm also able to have my career, and so I have a really good balance, and I feel like every decision has contributed to that. So I don't know that I would change anything.
Christina, if you could say something to young or not really young person who would love to succeed in life, you know, there are dozens of success principles, like learn from the best, set goals, and work with your limiting beliefs and fears, and surround yourself with nice goal-oriented people. What would you say? What are your top rules for life?
My top rules for life. You have to have a plan. You have to take time to be thoughtful before you act. So you should act with intention, or set a plan, or have a goal. And so I think when you start from a place of being reflective and figuring out what feels good to you or what makes you happy, and then you act based on that, that's where we make the best goals. Because if a goal reflects our values, if a goal reflects something that we want to accomplish in life, we will be more committed to accomplishing that goal. And so you have to start with really tapping into what is important to me and what makes me happy, and what is my power, right? What is my superpower? What can I give to others? And how will I go about doing that? So I think that that's one really important piece. Taking action, right? I think that there's a concept of messy action, or just taking a step and doing it. Because a lot of times people are afraid to take action because they feel like they're not going to do it right, or they're going to mess it up, or they don't know exactly how to do it. And really, just by starting, it's just the starting part that is so hard. And when you start and you take an action, even if it's not perfect, then you can evaluate and you can sort of shift the chart of your course, and so that you can start to learn from every move until you kind of find your way to where you're meant to be. And that really, we can think about all the things we want all the time, but if we don't actually do something with those thoughts, it never happens. So I think the biggest obstacle with doing something is just people having the fear of not doing it right, or it not working, or it failing. And it does fail, right? They don't always work, but it's about doing something and seeing what happens. So taking action, whatever kind of action, investing time and energy in yourself and in your relationships, because we're humans. We need our connections. We need people around us, whether it's our friends or our family or our partnerships. We need to feel like we're a part of something and we have support. And when we feel good in relationships, we are able to sort of soar and expand out into our lives and contribute more in different ways. So starting with what happens in your home and making sure that you feel good with your kids, or good with your partner, or good with your friends. It's really significant because it's like an energy that drives you. So the goals, taking action, relationships, playing. I think people need to play. We can be serious, but we also have to have fun, because that's where our creativity comes from. So whether it's exercising or having something that you do when you're not working to sort of generate more creative energy, to be present and engaged. And I think the other piece would be reflecting. I would say sitting down and sort of reflecting on where you are and what you want, and constantly evaluating. Because if you're doing something, you've heard Brian talks about zero-based thinking, right? Like, if I knew then what I know now, what would I not do? And that, I think, is really important, just as we go through, to sort of check, like, am I on the track I want to still be on? Like, I wanted this 6 months ago. Do I still want this? And if you don't, and if it's not working, be okay with letting it go and find something else.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing rules, Christina. I
Okay,
love that very
excellent.
much. And I agree with you about action, because the information is just potential power. Without action, it
Yes.
doesn't really matter. So it's very important. Have you ever been in Russia before?
I have actually. I've been to St. Petersburg.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. I see.
Yeah.
But next time when you decide to come with your family, please let me know. That would be great to see you here, Christina. And thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for your recommendation. It's very nice to talk with you and
Absolutely.
to know you personally. I saw on Facebook our first conversation was back in 2016.
Oh my
Finally,
gosh.
yeah, finally we have had this kind of conversation on Instagram. And I wish you and your family, and of course Brian and your mom Barbara, and everyone, all the best, health, abundance in all aspects of life. And you're a great person, and thank you very much. And I also, all the best to your clients, Christina. You're doing great.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
inspire a lot of people, and that was very, very nice talking with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I hope that, you know, when I get my programs, I will reach out to you and let you know, so we can share the knowledge with the world and help people to continue to grow. And I appreciate what you're doing in terms of, you know, helping to inspire people and give them tools and bring people on to share valuable information. So thank you for what you're doing as well.
Thank you, Christina. Let's keep in touch and enjoy your day.
Okay, thank you, definitely. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to all of you watching. Okay,
Thank you, Christina.
of
Bye.
course. Bye-bye.